All right,
You've done
we're
this a
good.
few times.
Oh, yeah, I think this is the fifth time, maybe, but we are alive now with none other than AWA, Mid South Wrestling, WWE legend, the Berserker John Norton, who was also in WCW. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, Hannibal, nice to be here, my friend. Everything's going great. I just sit around and look at pictures of myself and just little things. Sometimes I stare at them for hours. No, good to be here.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge picture of yourself there. Is that the one
Yeah,
from the WWE magazine?
yeah, it is. And then the other one is with me and Leon Baby Bull White, which is, I don't know why, but I just kind of like that picture because I like Leon so much.
Yeah.
Leon,
Leon White is Vader for anyone that doesn't know, and he did start in AWA. What could you tell us about those early days of
the
Vader?
Leon, well, I'll tell you this, he was a third round draft choice to the Broncos. And I always liked, guys who played football because I was a football freak. But I liked him. He was a great guy. But I remember, if I don't know if you guys remember his interviews, but he'd wear like this hat, like a regular baseball hat, and he'd be kind of like flexing his traps and I'm Leon Baby Bull White. And the Baby Bull is, I think, who they called him since he was a young kid. And I was like behind the Vern Gagne's camera, just laughing my ass off at him. It was just funny. He's like, then the camera stopped and Leon be going, "Quit laughing! I can't concentrate," and shit like that. So we'd be just laughing at him. But he was a great guy, and he was a freak of nature, man. He was kind of like a Scotty Norton animal. He was like super amazingly strong and big. If his body would have held out, I figured he would have played, you know, football longer. But and then for Scotty Norton too, same thing. Scotty was incredible, which I'm sure you've heard stories about him, right?
Yeah, a lot of people say he had a really bad temper. Did you ever experience that?
Scotty,
Yeah.
yeah, he had kind of a bad temper. He was, how can I say it? Uh, he just, his dad. I don't know what this has, but his dad and him like ran a concrete business, cement business. And I've never known a cement guy that was in a good mood. They're just, and I don't know what that has to do with that, but Scotty was,
Well, that's a horrible job to have to work. I'm sure it pays well, but pouring cement all day.
oh, and what the thing that I think is like him and Mike Higstrand were best friends growing up. And it's back when the hippies and the jocks were fighting each other. And him and Scotty could beat anybody arm wrestling, obviously. I mean, in a second. And so they would go around kind of, we, even as ninth, 10th, 11th grade, you'd be picking fights. And next thing you know, there'd be fists getting thrown at parties. And Mike and Scotty were guys that were from the bad side of town, and they would come to a Robbinsdale party. Sure enough, and Scotty was in a shitty mood, but he wasn't in essence, a big fighter. He was just had a temper. So
What was going on with the hippies and the jocks in those days? Because that was
does
about 20 years before my time.
does that sound kind of funny? Well,
Yeah, because hippies are supposed to be peaceful.
yeah, but they were, but it was kind of like the jocks like we don't like long hair, hippie smoking, drug addicts, hippies, pot smokers. We're jocks. We're the clean guys, and it sounds really stupid, but that's kind of how it was. And but it's amazing. As soon as you get to know a guys, like even Mike, I mean, I've known Hagstrand since he was in 8th grade, and then you get to know a guy, and all of a sudden you realize, fuck, these guys are great guys, man, just because they're from a different school, you know. But yeah, Scotty was, and then there's the infamous story of Norton getting punched in Japan, and that was always a touchy subject with Scotty, you know.
I never heard that one.
Did you?
No.
One of the other guys, he was in a hotel, and they were on tour in Japan, and one of the other wrestlers, I forgot who it was, but he wasn't really a big name, and they had an argument, and he punched Scotty, and Scotty's he had a big black eye, and it was really kind of embarrassing on the tour, you know, to have a guy punch you and then get the bestia and all that. I don't think they kept fighting, but he had like a black eye or 2 black eyes, and it was a big deal in the day, but nobody really ever talks about it anymore unless you got a big mouth like me.
Yeah, well, one thing people do talk about, and I don't know if you were still at WCW at this time, supposedly him and Ernest Miller, the Cat, had some heat, and
Did they?
yeah, I don't know if it came to blows or what, but there was some altercations supposedly between them. Ernest Miller really tells that story.
That now. But Scotty's just one of these guys who walks by and what the fuck? I remember like one of his first matches in the AWA. I was running around with Brad Rains, and anyways, one of Scotty's first matches, and Greg Gagne goes, and he got there like after the match had started, and Greg Gagne goes, "Where the hell you been? You can't get what the fuck you doing? You can't come this late to these matches like this." And Norton goes, "You're fucking lucky I came at all to this fucking place." And we were laughing so hard because the guy, it was funny, and Greg didn't fire him or nothing because they had lost so much of their steam, you know, where it wasn't that great a job they had, but it was still an in, but that's the way Norton is, and he's I seen him at the gathering about 3 years ago, or 2 years ago maybe now, and fuck, he couldn't have been a nicer guy, and good to see him. Fuck, he hugs you, damn near starts crying, you know. So he's just, yeah, he's a great guy, Scotty. He just got into that tough guy shit, I think.
Yeah, and of course the supplements that we've all taken here and there will add to that.
Yeah,
that persona, like you'll feel superhuman and get more aggressive, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. Plus, you're drawing your lines of ego stuff, but the gas and a little Dianabol, a little testosterone never seemed to help my temper either.
Now I know how good Scott did in Japan, but you actually are way better remembered in the US than Scott. To me, everybody remembers John Nord, the Berserker. Why did you not become bigger in Japan? Because in those WCW years, you were still in tremendous shape, and you seem like one of the guys that they probably could have sent there, and you probably would have done well over there.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's funny. It's always when your body starts breaking down, and I don't know if I've talked to you about this, mentioned it, but when all of a sudden you got nerve damage on your left side, next thing you know, you start wearing a sweatshirt and you start covering up because your body's failing, and you're getting these injuries that no matter how hard you train, it ain't coming back. And the only thing that would help, I guess, is a lot of steroids, but I wasn't my brain just didn't always resort to steroids. And then, but Japan was such hard money. I mean, it was insane hard money. I mean, I thought I was getting $57.50 a week, and Stan Hansen got me my job there and said, "Hey, I know a guy you could use right now," because they had a few guys get hurt or something. And I thought, $57.50 a week, that's like off the chart. That's fuck, I'm rich. And of course now guys, they don't, I still think it's good money naturally, but no matter what, I just couldn't see being 20 or 10,000 miles away from home for that many months of the year, and be away from my wife and kids. My brain just wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, as wild as you were, and I haven't ever heard stories about you cheating, and I heard you say you were loyal to your wife for
Yeah.
35 years, and you were in good shape. You were a stud. I'm sure
Yeah.
you could have got the arena rats. Is that just the Minnesota good values part of you that you wouldn't cheat on her?
Yeah, I would like to think so, but and then the other half is I was just always attracted to my wife. The actual physical attraction, I was just always attracted to her, and I was like, then it just didn't. I don't know. It just like you're on the road, and you're like, geez, there's a lot of ugly girls on the road here. But I don't mean that. But really, that was the bottom line, I think. And it ain't bragging. Let me tell you, I was in spots I should not have been, like in a hotel room, and the people, walking around with their freaking pants off and all kinds of crazy shit. But I just never got to. I got lucky. Some of it was luck. A lot of it was just, no, I just don't want to go there.
Yeah, I know it was different in the 80s, and I know Marty Jannetty exaggerates a lot.
Yeah.
But were the locker rooms different back then as far as more people would walk around naked even when they're not changing? Like, there's always the story Dusty Rhodes would just wear his cowboy boots for like hours on end.
I think I said that.
Are you the one that said that?
I just, seriously, yeah, because I remember Dusty walking up to me, "Hey, Big Donnie." I say, "Hey, Big Donnie." And I didn't know Dusty well. I probably met him 5 times in my life. And it come, "Hey, Big Donnie, baby." And I'm like, "You're standing a little close to me here." I'm like, yeah. And he didn't even flinch. But I always gave it up to the Southern guys being more trashy. But yeah, it's true. I think it is true that it was different. I think the locker rooms were different, and that, yeah, it was just like, put some clothes on, you homo. Stop this shit.
Yeah, because we're not talking about like you're at your locker, you're changing. These are
Yeah.
people like freely walking around giving you finishes while
Yeah.
standing there, or you're sitting down and their dicks flopping in your
That's
face,
what I'm
and you're like,
talking
"What the
about. Just
fuck?"
like, fuck, I look like, 2 croquet balls and a nylon hanging there, And I'm like, yeah, well, we'll go over this finish a little later than it's when you get some clothes on. But it's true too. But yeah, they didn't know what the hell
Yeah. And there was less gay people public back then too. So I mean,
Yes,
that would have
and
been a paradise for gay wrestlers.
I would, that's kind of true. But no haters going here, right? It's just the way it is. It was different years, and I don't know. It was different, and even like Brody, Frank was real liberal about walking around without no clothes on. A couple times, like I roomed with them in a hotel. I'm like, "Frank, get some clothes on now. Stop this shit." I think a lot of guys slept nude. No, and I'm like, nobody's picking on them, but I don't sleep nude. Get some clothes on. You should do what I do. Do what I say.
My friend had that issue in recent years with Kevin Sullivan sharing a room with him before he died. I guess Kevin, even at his older age,
Did he?
was walking
Did,
around the room naked, and it's just like, okay, this is uncomfortable.
yeah, it's just so freaking weird. If you want to call shit the way it is, come on. Just get some. It ain't that big a deal. Get some clothes on.
Now, there's someone on here asking you, could you? I don't know how close you pay to the news and wrestler stories, but Matt wants to know what are some of the bullshit stories that have been out lately by wrestlers that you know are fake, but people are
That are
reporting
just bullshit.
like we've heard the Marty Jannetty killing someone that he got a lot of publicity out of. I personally don't know about that one.
That one, yeah, the guy, the Marty, yeah, he's at the bottom. It's like Marty, all of a sudden, I just gotta tell somebody that I killed a guy when I was 12 and I put him at the bottom of a river. Ah! And oh, by the way, is it going to get over? And is everybody going to get talking about this? And by the way, is everybody going to want me? And is my worth going to be more then? And I know that's what guys do.
Yeah.
As far as
got a dark side of the ring out of it, and they wasted so much time talking about this, but it's like the police investigated it and found nothing. So clearly it's just a lie.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? They give it to the police. If there's something there, them fuckers find out real quick. They find out. And but that's okay, Marty. I love you, Marty. Fuck, we're all good. I'm a bit of a liar sometimes, but just not to my friends. Maybe occasionally to my wife I did, but
yeah, it's funny recently. One thing that's bullshit is I don't think Buff Bagwell is as clean as he claims because he was just in jail again, like within the past couple months. They don't just throw you in jail for nothing.
Yeah, like, what was that about?
Breaking the conditions of his release, but yet he's claiming he's so sober. But he recently was throwing shade on Marty, saying, "Oh, Marty's going to be the next wrestler to die," and so forth. What do you think about Bagwell, just in general, from your interactions with him in WCW?
The only time I knew him was in the WCW, and just my opinion is he's colossally full of shit. Just colossally. But like I said, I don't mean no hate. I really don't. I just don't believe much,
No, you can't take what wrestlers say, honestly.
Not in that way. Not if they're a certain kind. It's like, here's an example. Now, here's a guy I love dearly. He is the greatest guy in the world, is Steve Kern. But Steve has got this way of just exaggerating everything. And he always comes up and tells me about a story that I did. And I'm like, Steve, I never did that. And God bless his soul. Steve Kern's one of the greatest guys in the world, but he loves stretching stories. And maybe that's why he's a pro wrestler.
Yeah, well, one thing I'll tell you about Steve Kerr that I could tell you what, and I like him, but I know he's a liar because when I had a WWE tryout, I got into a little altercation with somebody. I challenged them to a fight, and he said at the end of the tryout, "Hey, we like you. Don't worry. We're not going to tell Johnny Ace about that altercation." The first thing that Johnny Ace said when he called me was, "What the hell happened with that?" So it's like he clearly was bullshitting me that he wasn't going to tell anybody.
Well, there you go. It's the way it is, and you get to like my age, and or even once you're out of wrestling, like you're not in it, but I mean anymore. But I have nothing to lose by telling the truth, and I know Steve's got a way of just, and then when a guy burns you like that, it can kind of scorn you, right?
What happened with Coco Beware and Steve? Wasn't there some fight with those two at some point, or am I imagining that?
I don't remember hearing nothing on it, but I'll tell you what. I almost got into it with Coco, and half the guys I know almost got in it with Coco, because every time it seems like they were doing this. And when you started in WWF, the first person, for some reason, they gave you was to work with Coco Beware in the opening match. That's what they did to me. And back then it was like, you know what I mean? Just like it is now. You got to get over, go out there and be stiff, but, sell. And I remember that fucker being stiff as hell. And then I just got stiff back and I just started kicking him in the head. And he came back with some blood and he started bitching to the whole baby face locker room that I was this stiff fucker and I was fucking be careful and all that. And you know as well as I, that's the last thing you want to get known as when you start somewhere is you can't work with them and this, that, and the other. And I remember Boss Man coming up to me and going, listen, man, it's different here. And I'm like going, okay. And I'm not trying to start shit, but this is who started all this shit. One of my first weeks there, he's tried burying me. And now I got Boss Man trying to just work, just sell, don't work. I said I am. I'm working the same way I've always worked. But I didn't have the heart to say, well, that fucker potatoed me out there,
Yeah, and I'm not a big Paul Roma fan, but I heard Coco and Paul Roma got into it at one point too, but I think that was before you were there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I heard that same thing. And go figure. I don't know of two guys that would not get along more than them two.
Yeah.
But now, Paul's a different cat, I was at this thing at it was the gathering. And Marty, the guy that runs the gatherings, one of his daughters, just this cute little cheerleader. And I know I slept at Marty's house. And anyways, and Roma's hitting on her. I'm like, Roma, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's Marty's daughter. Don't go hitting on her and talking trash. And he didn't say nothing back. I mean, he kind of quit doing it. But I'm like, well, dude, what's wrong with you? Don't do that shit.
One thing that kind of like they called it the Coco Beware bar for the Hall of Fame when they put him in. It's been lowered below Coco Beware since then. But I think you work with the Undertaker, Bret Hart. You're one of the you won the first 40-man battle royal in WWE history, and it's like, how is Coco Beware in the Hall of Fame before
Did he get put in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Really? How long ago?
He was put in even before the Honky Tonk Man. It's like, who does he have in there?
That to me is ridiculous.
Yeah, before Demolition.
Oh yeah, really?
And Sid.
I didn't know all that.
Yeah,
and I think I don't know. I think they just. I think personally something like that they do because they don't want to seem prejudiced.
Yeah.
And it's like this: the best man gets the job. I'm not saying nothing about color. I don't give a shit if you're brown, purple, white, red. But I think they do that just to stay kosher. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Maybe they needed the black person that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's nothing. It's stupidity is what it is. So if you're trying not to act racist, then don't be racist. Best man gets the job.
I actually heard Stephanie McMahon quoted not too long ago. They have certain percentages of champions now in various demographics.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm not kidding. This was in the news not too long ago, but when Vince was still in power.
Yeah.
Like there's certain percentage of various demographics that have to hold the title, and I guess because they're such a corporate company. But
I believe that.
One guy they're putting in this year, and again, to me, honestly, Earthquake, yes, but Typhoon. How the hell is Typhoon worthy of the Hall of Fame? He was a flop in WCW. he was a lower card guy overall in WWE. The natural disasters were not exactly like, how are they in before Demolition? Like,
no, that's big time. But as far as Fred Typhoon, or Tugboat, who's in
Tugboat too, yeah. He had a couple of gimmicks because none of them really got over.
Tugboat's Typhoon, right?
Yeah.
Same guy, right? Yeah. Fred, yeah, I mean, I talk to him all the time, and then just a year ago, and greatest guy in the world. But you got to remember who he's connected with is he's married to Dusty's daughter.
Yeah, so he's Cody Rhodes' uncle. So I think that.
Well, don't that pretty much explain the whole thing? I mean, it's.
Yeah.
And obviously one of them guys have got a friend that knows this guy in the WWF, and it's 100% why he got in. And not 100, I'm sorry, Fred, if you're watching this. Not 100, let's fuck you, Fred.
He has some talent. I like him too, but I mean, come on, before Demolition, everyone's been asking for Demolition, and it's like, you're gonna put friggin' Tugboat in there, who is best remembered as the Shockmaster that fell through the wall. Like, honestly, that's what he's remembered for.
I know
that gimmick flopped. He flopped.
Well, and Freddie, you're not ahead of me. Okay, so that's really what I'm getting at.
Nobody will argue that he had a better career than you. I'm sorry. Nobody will argue that.
No, but all I can say is it's the connections. This thing on who you know is just, it's always, when you can't figure it out, it's who you know.
You're one of the guys that sadly they're probably going to wait until you pass because you're too outspoken.
Yeah. I'll go out there and go like, yeah, I heard somebody slept with Stephanie or something like that. But now, who did I just hear that from? That's kind of crazy.
Well, the Macho Man stuff with Stephanie,
that's who I heard.
Yeah, many people have even Lanny hasn't really denied it, and Macho Man said it in a rap video. He said, "Hey," because back towards the end, he hated Triple H, and he was doing a rap, and he even said something along the lines, "I banged your wife," and then everyone's like, "Well, how can you invent this? This is ridiculous." Well, Macho Man said it. And Lanny didn't deny it when I asked Lanny about it.
Really? Yeah.
And Macho Man's ex-girlfriend, Gorgeous George, says that he also told her that. So
that's the and then whoever I talked to this about, who was it, I says, well, hold it, how old was Stephanie? Well, she wasn't underage or nothing. I said, well, how old is she? I don't know, she was like 19 or something. I says, no shit. I don't know how all this, I don't know none of this stuff that ever happened like this, but it does, I guess.
I think a lot of people believe, and I'm not saying it, I'm just saying it, the people that say, well, there's no truth to it all, he said it himself.
Yeah.
He said it himself, and there was total bad blood between him and Vince for some reason. Horrible bad blood. He never went back to Vince, and he actually refused to get put in the Hall of Fame. It was Lanny that gave them permission after he died to allow him in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, and Lanny was a super nice guy, but weird. And Randy, same way, super nice guy, but weird. But that's the whole point, is why I don't know if I believe it all the way, because I don't trust what Randy or Lanny would say. I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Shit.
I can tell you firsthand, Lanny is a liar.
There you go. Then maybe it's the whole thing's a sham, probably. And it's a terrible. First of all, what the fuck is wrong with you, Randy? Sleeping with a girl. You know, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe because I got daughters and I want to and it pisses you off, you know. That's kind of the reality of it. You got daughters, all of a sudden that kind of shit pisses you off.
I know one of your kids is here, right? Filming this right now.
Huh?
Isn't Justin one of your kids?
He's my nephew.
Oh, he's your nephew. How
Yeah.
many kids do you actually have?
I don't know. They're all over the United States.
Nah.
No, I got 3. Katie, Joe, Les. And my son was the wrestling coach at Columbia University in New York, and now he just quit because he got his master's. They actually got good. My daughter is a doctor, regular doctor, and then my other daughter, I think she works for Zillow. They all got big jobs. They just fucking these kids make so damn much money. They don't throw none to the old man either. I'm sitting here doing fucking Hannibals. Come on.
Well, the fans will at least appreciate that. But yeah, someone was asking. You mentioned your daughter's a doctor. Someone's asking about your foot because you were showing us your foot last time.
Yeah, no, I was in the hospital for about 6 out of 9 months the last year, and it's my knee, and it got infected a year ago last December, and I almost lost my leg. I was fighting for my life, man. I got a real bad infection, and Justin came. He's here right now. He came to see me all the time, and it was hell. And it's I was the last thing the doctor said, like last July, was right before they put me under. My doctor goes, okay, now this was my 4th surgery. He goes, okay, if this surgery don't work, we're gonna have to amputate. And they put me under, and I says, what word did you just say? Amputate? Is that what you just said? I'm thinking, oh my God. And then he put me under, and I came to, and I was in 4 different casts, and I was in this, that, and the other. And so for 4 months, I was going, God, please, I don't want to lose my leg. I don't want to be alive if I have one leg. I do not want to be alive if I got one leg. Please, Lord, take me if that's the case. Well, then after my 4th cast, they cut it up, the cast off, and they'll say, we'll know when we take the cast off and on your next visit if we got to amputate. And so they took it off, and they said, no, we don't have to. He said, you ain't going to have a great leg. So I'm still limping around, and my knee is like as big as a volleyball, kind of, maybe a little smaller. And it's got where the scars are from the operations and that. But at least I didn't lose my leg, but I limp on it. So.
Well, I'm glad you didn't lose your leg.
Thanks, brother.
These leg injuries are horrible. I've had one too. They're a long journey to get back from.
Isn't it? And when they say I could almost deal with anything, but when you say one more or this is the last operation, then we got to amputate. I'm like, boy, you feel like shit day after day after day, and then you're feeling sorry for yourself, and people are going, well, they can make really good prosthetics now. I'm like, yeah, I'm really, really fired up about that, and you just don't want to hear that, but it ended up working out, and I'm still fighting it a little bit, I'm still at the place where, yeah, they're not going to have to amputate unless things go weird. So, but it's good. It's doing good. Good enough for me.
I was recently watching a match from you at Maple Leaf Gardens, and you're jumping up and down before the match, just thinking about your legs, how the height you were getting. Was that blow you up? Because it's like you haven't even started the match, and you're hopping up and down in the ring.
Yeah, it
like
did blow me up, and I'll never forget. I had Vince tell Patterson, or whoever, I think it was Pat, or was it? And they said, why don't you to let them know how crazy you are? Why don't you start hopping up and down as high as you can before the match? I said, okay, yeah, I can do that. I'm thinking, God, and it did blow me up. Not super bad, but it did. And I'm like, this sucks. And then I quit doing it. So, but you had to quit doing anything without, like, you're being disobedient to them, you know?
Yeah, and it pisses me off because I've seen a couple of videos. One of the goofiest characters ever was a Berserker. That showed like how strong your legs were because you're getting like 5, 6 feet in the air. And the Huss thing, that was cool because most of us hadn't seen Bruiser Brody that were WWE fans at that point because there wasn't the
Yes.
internet. So, like
Yeah.
to me, this was not a Bruiser Brody ripoff. You were the first version of Bruiser Brody.
Well, that's nice of you to say that. But, and that's the only redeeming thing was it was before a lot of people had seen him. And I know when I went to Japan in '94, they said, don't do no Brody stuff. And I said, yeah, no, I wasn't gonna. And they just John Norton. So I did a lot of tours in Japan, I think 6 or 7 in '94. It was just John Norton. And it felt really good because I didn't have to go, Huss, Huss, and, you know, and fly around. And the main reason I did that was because they asked me to jump up, you know, so.
Yeah, and the Huss thing was cool because I remember seeing you at house shows and like the whole crowd was doing it. It was
Yeah,
over.
yeah, that's it. But I'll tell you, just thinking out loud here, when I was in Mid-South in '85, that's where I got that. Hold on, let me scratch that. In '85, I came in as the Barbarian, had my head shaved, and, you know, doing, you know, back then it was the Road Warrior stuff. Everybody started doing, you know, shaving their head and doing the Road Warriors. And I was no different. So I was the Barbarian. But then Ernie the Cat Lad came up to me and Ernie was, he was gone. Anyways, he come up and he says, why don't you start happing up and down? You remember Mad Dog Bashan? And the reason he said that's because Mad Dog's from the AWA, Minnesota, Canadian. He knew I would know who Mad Dog was. Watch him. And Mad Dog used to do that hop, you know, before the match. And he said, well, why don't you do that? So that's how I started doing that in the Mid-South. But then I quit doing it because it was way too much work.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking when I saw it because, like, in the gym, trying to do 10 of those, a normal person will take like a 2 minute break after doing 10 of those, and you're like doing 6 of them and jumping right into a match.
Yeah, yeah, and it did suck. You're right, it did suck, as I remember.
What happened to this white thing that you only wore a couple times? Did you just lose it? That white?
Yeah, I lost it in my travels. half the time I would be too lazy to put my suitcase in the trunk of the rental car, and I would just put it in the back seat. So it happened to me 3 freaking times. I left my suitcase just in the back seat, locked the doors, like that was going to stop people. And as soon in Chicago, New York, and one other place, Portland, had 3 suitcases stolen from me, and that's where that went.
What happened with Lance Von Erich in Portland, by the way? No, what Lance isn't telling me the story. The captain isn't telling me the story. Let's get the story for you. Did he just not pay him, or was there something? Did it have to do with Lance? What did it have to do with?
No, here's crazy. That's a crazy story. So I ain't seen Lance Von Erich since 1987. So 38 years go by. This is what you're talking about, right? At the Portland.
Yeah, because he thought you hurt him, right? You did hurt him, but he thought you did it on purpose.
Exactly. And I ain't seen him in 38 years. He comes walking up to me. I didn't even know who the guy was, you know. And not to cut him down because he ended up liking me after the Portland. But he said, I said, hey, how you doing? And he comes up to me and he just looks at me and goes, you ended my career. I said, what? He says, who's this guy? And I asked Nick. He goes, that's Lance. And I asked Nick, the captain's corner guy. And I said, I ended your career. Really? I said, I did? What did I do? And he goes, you purposely drove my shoulder into the mat. I says, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you serious? I says, no, I would never do that. Fucking never. Although, let me go with this. Frank didn't like him, and because Frank didn't like him, Lance concocted this in his head. That because even Lance said, and no, I seen him doing an interview. Was it on your show?
Yeah, it probably was on mine. Yeah, because we were talking about you.
Yeah, and he says, and John Nord was friends with Bruiser Brody, and then whoever he was interviewing, might have been you, said, yeah, I heard he was really wild, huh? And Lance goes, no, he was clumsy. He was clumsy.
Yeah, that was me, because I was asking wild as in behind the scenes.
Yeah, but that don't even hurt my feelings. Come on, clumsy. I don't care. I'm not pretending to be a super smooth athlete. Who gives a rip? But Lance didn't say that to me when I seen him in Portland, naturally. But I ended up just going, man, dude, you're nuts. And then, of course, in Portland, Lance, it was 8:30 at night. And Lance goes to the airport, and he thinks he's so hammered. The guy's drunk 24/7, right, Lance? I hope you're watching this, because I know. And he was drunk.
I will say he was not drunk the 2 times he interviewed with me. He definitely was not, but he
wasn't drunk.
Definitely not, 100%
good.
not.
Well, then
but I have heard that story from several people there at Portland, and I was
okay. So you have already heard that, yeah. And you know what? And it ain't a hate thing. It's just fucking being funny. I get it, dude. You're human. I'm fucking human. We do crazy, stupid shit. Get in line. But it ain't about hate or not hate, man. I'm trying to be the best Christian I can be, but I don't do too well half the time. So.
Yeah, because I had the thing was I'd only heard the rumor, and the fans were asking me since I had interviewed him, and when I asked Lance what happened, he didn't answer me, and when I asked the captain what happened, the captain didn't answer me, probably because he knew I was going to ask Lance. So
exactly, and
yeah,
and it's like it's just, but Lance had that in him. He was like, you ended my career. You ended my career. He was fucking serious. And I'm like, really? And it wasn't like fighting words. He was just letting me know he's a blunt kind of guy.
Now he did say, because I did interview him after Portland, and he did follow up on that by saying you were a great guy.
Did he? Good. Yeah. Thanks, Lance. Yeah. I hope you watch this show. No, because I thought he was a good guy too. It's just, I know he had that connected with me and Brody of having it happen on purpose. I could see how we would think that a little bit, but otherwise, it just, no way. I'm not that type of person. No way.
One of our members here, Phil, says, do you have any update for us on how Nails or Brad Riggins are doing these days?
Oh, God, I talked to both of them. Nails is still traveling the U.S., selling trailers, and that's what he loves to do. Kevin he drives literally 5-6 days of the week, and sometimes I call him or he calls me, which ain't very often, maybe once a year, once every 6 months, and all of a sudden, yeah, I'm in El Paso, yeah, I'm in. He just loves driving, and he's healthy, and he's I think he's a lot thinner than he used to be, but he's healthy as hell, and he's doing what he likes to do.
Is he as tough as people say?
Yeah, he was a tough guy. The only reason I know is because I know he won the Minnesota Tough Man contest. And you got to be a tough guy to win shit like that, right? And the guys that showed up at those kind of tough man contests, they were tough guys. And Kevin won it one year. I think it might have been the mid or the early 80s, very early 80s. And he was tough, but here's the point. And even Kevin, you're not that tough. You might be a good boxer. Like I always talk about Rick Rude. Rick could hit hard as hell, but it didn't make him tough because all the way, if he got the first and second punch in, then you probably weren't going to rebound. Same with Kevin. They hit like mules, and if they got the first or second punch in. But if they didn't, who knows what's going to happen in a wrestling match? All of a sudden, you got an amateur wrestler, and he grabs your leg and twists you and starts hammering you from behind. Whole different story. So now a guy like Bradley, my buddy, he's an Olympic wrestler and he's built like a cement block. Where are you going to attack the guy? And I just want to fight Brad.
Yeah, I heard that he trained Vader and didn't he put Vader through a wall or something?
Yeah, he had this little. He had in his basement, which was a high vaulted ceiling basement, and he had an outhouse built of like sheets of plywood so guys could go take a dump, and while other guys were out on the wrestling mats. Anyways, but Brad somehow got a wrist and back because he couldn't get his arms around him. I know that, but he had like a wrist and something. And he went like straight back over forward, and the whole outhouse exploded, So, but that's when, because Leon, imagine being Leon's size and strength and showing up at this pro wrestling camp, and this guy, let's say a half your size or, 5'10", 250, throwing you straight up in the air like that. It was just, yeah. But Leon, not nothing like Leon learned his lesson. He learned that it's a different world out there who you run into, and Brad is a different world that way,
Didn't he stretch the hell out of the Nasty Boys too?
Yeah. You know what? The Nasty Boys lived. You talk about the pro wrestling camp. These are all the guys that lived with Brad. Literally lived with him, paid their rent. Shawn Michaels, the Nasty Boys. There was like Marty Jannetty. Just a lot of guys that literally lived with Brad. And when the Nasty Boys showed up from old Pennsylvania there, did Brad stretch them? Yeah, I think they stretched them just back then in 1987 or whatever. I think he just had to let them know that, this ain't just a big fucking joke here, And they're great guys, though. They're the best. I love them because they're blunt. They got a big mouth like me,
Oh yeah, they're bloods for sure.
They're great. They're fucking great guys. Love them guys.
Now Sags has the tough guy reputation because he blindsided Shamrock with the phone. Do you really think he's tough?
Sags, you are not tough. Sags. Okay, give me a call if you got a different opinion. Because Jerry Sags, you are not tough. And by the way, I do love you, but you're not tough.
Yeah. Because from what I understand, like Shamrock busted down the door and he's going after Knobs and he's drunk and Sags is off to the side in the bathroom with his phone. And
really?
Like blindsides him.
Hold it now. Who's Shamrock?
Ken Ken Shamrock, who later went on to the
Ken
UFC.
Shamrock?
They had I guess Knobs was feeling up some girl at the bar, and then they got in a little fight at the bar. And then
Really?
Knobs and Sags went back to the hotel, and then Shamrock followed them back to the hotel, busted down the door, but then Sags got him at the phone. So that's why Sags has this big tough guy reputation.
Really?
But it's like, apparently Shamrock says he confronted Sags at an airport later on, and Sags says, if you hit me, I'm going to sue you. So, and I never heard of Sags beating anyone else up.
Huh?
I've never heard of Sags ever being in another fight.
No, all I ever heard about was the cheer by Scott Hall, right?
Yes.
Career.
Which they backed down, didn't they, from Nash and Hall at that point? But Nash had Sting's baseball bat or something, right?
Yeah, and what? Sags won $1 million or something.
I have no idea.
Yeah, he did. Happened. He won $1 million lawsuit, and but that's all I've heard. But Sags says he's a fucking great guy too. But I don't think he would claim to be a tough guy, because you got to be a real tough guy to be a tough guy.
Someone on here says they're a double amputee, and he says losing a leg isn't the end of the world.
God bless your heart. Thank you for saying that. God bless your heart.
Someone else wants to know, Mike D, what your thoughts are of Papa Shango and Giant Gonzalez.
Well, Papa. No, who's Johnny Gonzalez?
Giant Gonzalez was the big guy in the. Sorry, I said it wrong, but the guy in the bodysuit there. He's passed away a long time ago now.
George. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great guy. He was just, I don't know if he got a push or not. Did he? Wasn't he really in and out pretty quick?
Yeah, I think he had a feud with The Undertaker, but The Undertaker didn't like wrestling him.
That's what I thought.
Because they never really had a blow-off, really. They never had a blow-off.
Did they?
No. There was never like a finish of that feud.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. That basically. That's a hard one to describe. But yeah, they never had a finish.
You didn't either, come to think of it. You never had that match with The Undertaker. There wasn't as many pay-per-views back then, but I know you fought on house shows. But there was no like Saturday Night Main Event or anything where he like put you in a casket or something.
Finality. No, that's right. Yeah. And that was the difference of wrestling back then. Is we're on the road 5 nights a week. Everybody says 6, 7. No, but you average 5 nights a week, and maybe 6 because you did 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. But that's why people just didn't know what you were doing. You were in a different town every night doing, So I don't think I don't know. I don't think they felt the need to put it on TV and make it a finality type thing. But I was going to say, Hannibal who's the other guy you asked me about? Oh, Papa.
Papa Shango, Godfather.
I don't know if you got, you know where him and Undertaker met.
Memphis, right?
I heard that, I thought it was at the Crazy Horse Bar in Vegas. Now, maybe it was after Memphis, but I remember they had 2 Crazy Horse bars in Vegas. And they're strip clubs, and one of them is a really good strip club. But anyways, and he was the bouncer there. And next thing I know, I'm going in there with Undertaker, and this friend of mine, the bouncer, is a good buddy of mine. I said, oh, really? Oh, nice to meet you, this, that, and the other. And so we got in and got taken good care of and all that, and not with girls, but just drinking and sitting in there and going crazy. But that's how I thought they met, and I might be dead wrong. But as far as, here's what I used to get pissed off a little bit, was I thought Papa got in WWE so freaking easy, paid no freaking dues, and got a push. just because you know a guy, period, you know. And that always kind of got me, man. I didn't, and I like Papa Shango, George, right? Charles.
Charles, yeah, and he's
Yeah,
still, I think, under a Legends contract to this day. So they've taken very good care of him.
There you go. Again, it's who you know. But it ain't a hate thing. It's just a real thing. If Pat Patterson was my fucking great uncle Pat, where do you think I would be? I'd be in the fucking Hall of Fame. But it ain't that big a deal, the Hall of Fame, unless it pays you some good jing. Then I think.
Yeah. And it helps you get bookings after, really. So that's why I wish they'd put someone like you in there, because you can say WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, thanks for saying that. But I had my buddies remind me of that. Like, no, you want to get in there someday because then it makes your bookings worth more. And I think, okay, I get that, I guess.
And Papa Shango did have a great look. I'll definitely give him that. He told me a story in Albany a couple months ago, off camera.
Well, there I go. I'm going to have to confront Papa now when I see.
No, it's not about you, but he told me the Nasty Boys, when he was breaking into the business, broke into his hotel room and smeared shit all over the walls of his hotel room.
Yeah,
and he had. Did you ever hear that story?
Fucking, I did. I think I was there.
Yeah,
I didn't do it, but yeah, they did.
He made up with them. He made up with them since. But he said he had nuclear heat with them for a long time over that.
Oh, that's too bad. No, you know what? Charles Wright's a great guy. I always hear the story of Bam Bam and being over on Bam Bam and being over on tour in Japan. And Bam Bam told me that Charles Wright, they're all on the bus, and Papa's telling me, I can drink fucking, I drank a quart of vodka and a quart of whiskey once, and I can drink so much, it's crazy, and nobody can outdrink me. And Bam Bam's like, oh, really? Okay. Bam Bam might have to do a Mr. Fuji on you. So Bam Bam H-bombs him, and he just went crazy. And Charles will tell you about it. Went crazy in a Japanese hotel, broke a big glass mirror and some other shit. And then the office came up to him. He was in a total blackout. The office came up to him the next day, said, you have to pay for all damages, and he did. And they took it out of his check. But I guess it was just nuts.
Yeah, those were the days.
Too bad. You just got to be careful. Let me tell you.
Yeah. That doesn't happen anymore, because it would be the end of the world and that person would get canceled with the way news travels.
Yeah. And it all.
And someone would have got his hotel room freak out on tape. And it would have been massive worldwide news on TMC.
It would have damn sure been. It would have damn sure. But, I just, from some of the big mouth shit I've done, this show is not about hating anybody. This show is about just telling stories, having fun. And if you think, it's anything else, you're just taking it way too personal.
And you brought up Mr. Fuji being known for the H-bomb thing. I mean, he's long gone now, but that's a common knowledge thing about Mr. Fuji, would H-bomb people and give them also cookies laced with acid and stuff. He found that funny.
Oh,
do you have any H-bomb stories from Mr. Fuji?
Mr. Fuji? Yeah, I do. He's what the hell was it? Fuji just, his accent alone, the Japanese accent. And I would just laugh because I just thought he was so funny just by the way he acted. He wasn't even trying to be funny, and he was funny. And he would say, sometime Kevin, my son, Kevin.
Your girlfriend's here.
Yeah. Oh fuck. Sometime he said one time I bring my daughter Kevin and Kelly to arena, and this ain't bad, but I bring him to arena. They're only 9 years old, and this was now, they must have been 12 when I was there or something, and they're identical twins, and no, they're not identical. They're just girl boy. Anyways, and I have a girl in the hotel lobby say, "Those got to be Fuji's kids. They're fucking ugly too." Okay, and of course you don't say that. But that ain't a hate deal, anyways. He didn't even mean it like effing ugly. He meant like kind of weird looking. But Fuji don't know how to interpret that, anyways. So he said, so she said, so yeah, I sit down, talk to her. She turns head. I H-bomb her 3 times. So next thing you know, they carry her out and fucking ambulance, whole deal. Never do that to Mr. Fuji. That's a true story. They called it because the girl said her kids were home.
Oh my. Well, you know what? Some people really take offense to insults of their children.
Oh, if someone said that about my kids, I'd fucking H-bomb them too. I'd get in the ambulance with them and keep H-bombing them. But it was how crazy shit were when you're hanging around bars and night after night.
Yeah.
But that's bad, Ian. Is that bad for me to say? That's bad, Ian.
No. Brutus Beefcake, I think, even said at one point the Rockers H-bomb people. And we won't go there, but Brutus said that at one point. And he got some heat from Shawn Michaels for saying that. And we watch in the Hall of Fame, and I like Marty.
There you go.
I won't go further than that. And it was a different. I know Kurt Hennig, Don Fry even admitted it. Kurt H-bombed people too. He H-bombed Don Fry, the fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said it was hilarious. Yeah.
That don't surprise me. Don Fry, too, by the way, I got it. Don Fry is probably the toughest man that ever lived. I don't know of anybody tougher than Don Fry, do you?
He's pretty damn tough, and even like you want to talk about bodies broken down, like he's paid for his toughness. And
I heard. And I think I'm gonna run into him in Vegas at this WrestleCon. I heard is he on the?
Yeah, Rick Bassman is bringing him. Rick Bassman it's funny, he's bringing both Don Fry and Tank Abbott. They're going to be at a table together, and they don't like each other.
Really?
Well, actually, yeah, Don still hates Tank. Tank's more happy-go-lucky about it. So maybe there's going to be
maybe he's doing it on purpose.
He's having like Dan Severn to give Rick Bassman a plug, Don Fry, Mark Kerr, who The Rock is doing a movie on.
He's having Dan Severn?
Yeah, Dan Severn, Don Fry, Mark Kerr, Mark Coleman, and Josh Barnett, I think all at the same
They are some badass fucking dudes there.
Don't heckle that table.
Huh?
Don't heckle that table. I think Butterbean too, now that I'm thinking
really?
about it.
Yeah. I guess I seen Butterbean. Yeah, but honest to God, there are some tough, and especially Sovereign and Fry. I mean, these guys are just, they are the toughest men at one time in the world. These guys.
Oh yeah,
I really look up to them guys because they're amateur, they're boxers, and they took a beating and they proved they're the toughest guys alive.
What do you think of your fellow Minnesotan Brock Lesnar? Still, I guess he's still getting paid $12 million or something a year, but sitting on the sidelines due to something that doesn't seem legit.
I'll tell you this is Brock, because I know him and I know and I know Brad Rangans and they're best buddies. I can just tell you that I think he's just enjoying life too much with his kids and the farming, and you gotta just love it. He was he was a badass dude, and he had a great run. He could come back anytime, but that ain't his way. His way is he's gonna do things on his timing now, especially now, And I don't know. I just, like I've said before, it's just like he's one of the guys that I look up to in this business. I mean, he's the John Wayne of freaking wrestling.
Yeah.
He really is. I mean, he's just, I just look up to him. I don't know what kind of deal does he have with Vince. I don't know. Does he still get paid?
Yeah, he still gets paid because they don't want him going to AEW. He's still under contract.
Just for that fact alone?
No, supposedly he had sent some text message to Janelle Grant, but he didn't actually do anything with her.
Oh, yeah.
She claims that it sounds like she almost wanted to have sex with him and he didn't want it. Why would he want Vince's rat?
Yeah, you know what? I totally forgot about that, tell you. And I was talking about it probably a year ago with you. But the poop girl. Yeah, right?
Supposedly he messaged her, let's see a pee or something. And I don't know, but it's stupid.
Mixed up. Poopa Shango.
Yeah.
The poop girl.
I don't know.
Gotta go poop right now. On and on. The poop never ends.
It seems like that case is going nowhere these days, and will probably end up
better in shit, right?
They're already saying that Vince has already had like breakfast meetings with WWE people, and they might put him in charge of the TKO boxing league that Saudi Arabia is going to fund.
Brock?
No, Vince. Like they're already like starting to talk to Vince again, and like the heat on Vince seems to be dying down by now.
Oh yeah. I agree, and I kind of did hear the same thing. Yeah, I didn't know who you meant. I thought maybe you were talking about Brock at first, but
no, I don't think Brock will fight again. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think Brock, he's no kid, man. The guy's 40. He's 20 years younger.
5 or something, 46. Who knows?
Yeah, he's 40. Yeah, he's 45, and he was, as far as one time, he was probably the most famous guy in the world at one time. But like all things, it loses its steam. Brock Lesnar, to me, I still think he's the most famous guy in the world. But in reality, the name's gone down because he asked the younger guys, like I'll even say in public, you know who Brock Lesnar is? Just to get a conversation going. And they'll go, no. Whereas years ago, they would have known right away who he is. But nothing against Brock. It's just that's how life takes its fucking process.
Yeah, I mean, there's The Rock is probably the most famous wrestler. John Cena and Brock Lesnar, they're the top 3 most famous wrestlers, probably.
Yeah. Now, what's this? Did I see something against him and Cena, or is that old?
It's going to be Cody. They didn't end up doing The Rock against anybody. It's going to be Cody Rhodes against Cena at WrestleMania.
Oh, but it was going to be Brock versus...
No, I don't know what they were doing with Brock, but they basically have 2 nights of WrestleMania in a 65,000 seat arena and about 39,000.
Jeez, it don't end. Now they got 2 nights of WrestleMania.
I don't think it's a card worth 2 nights, though, to be honest. And they're paying like it's more expensive to go than ever, so you got to pay that price for 2 nights, and the card is watered down. To me,
yeah. It seems that way, it being in the background, but let me ask you this. This WrestleCon they have that I'm going to, does that make that, you think people might spend more money at WrestleCon because WrestleMania is getting so expensive, or ain't not that how it works? I don't even know.
I don't know, maybe because it's 2 days, more people will go down there for a longer time and maybe you'll make more money. I hope. I was just in Vegas earlier this week to get stem cells, and I was at the hotel where WrestleCon is gonna be. It's a very good hotel, so you should have fun
what's
there.
it called?
The Westgate.
Westgate. Really?
Yeah.
So you think what's your opinion on WrestleCon? You think it'll do good or not?
Oh, I think it should do all right, and it's not far from the WWE Convention Center, where all the WWE's autograph sessions are going to happen. It's within a walking distance.
Really?
So you'll have a lot of people go to both, I think.
I don't know, but but even you, you said I think so, and I'm waiting for someone to tell me that's going to do great for sure, because I just hope the guys that are bringing me in make good money. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm happy with my pay, but I just hope it does good, because WrestleMania I didn't think was like you said, a watered down card.
I mean, to me, there's Cody Rhodes against Cena. I'm interested to know if Cena's going to win the title.
Right.
I don't like Cody Rhodes. I find him boring. So I would like to see some type of a change.
Yeah.
But other than that, I could care less about anything, let alone think that it should be dragged into 2 nights.
Yeah. I'm not just saying it to agree, but I do agree. And of course, I wouldn't know Cody Rhodes if I seen him walking down there.
No.
He's
very corporate. He's very like a yes man. You're not going to have to worry about him, but he's like the perfect corporate champion. Yeah, very, very flat, very boring to someone like me.
You gotta be a bad boy, mix it up a little bit. Fuck, it can't be all well said things, right?
Someone even mentioned here 2 nights, and it's like 4 or 5 hours a night. Like, who could even sit through that? That's not like a super fan, because I get really bored. I have a short attention span. To me, that's torture to sit through like 10 hours of wrestling.
That would be fucking torture for not. Hey, listen, 9 out of 10 people, I would figure it'd be torture, because what it would. You give them that, it's the oldest thing in the world. If you give them too much, they're gonna lose their interest in the long run. I don't know.
Yeah, and the I think it's like $10,000 for front row. It's ridiculous. It's
that.
So 20,000 for 2 nights.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
$1,000 for front row.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
God.
Because weren't you cut out of WrestleMania 8 because it was going to go over 3 hours or something? Back then, they cared more because people had to buy the pay-per-views. Now it's like Peacock.
That's right.
And Netflix. People don't have to actually, I'm going to buy this because I want to see this match. So they had to make the shows as good as possible, it seemed. But now it's like.
Well, I was talking to this guy from Europe just this morning. I did this thing for this Andre dude, and he's a book writer or something, right? And anyways, good dude. I think he actually worked. I think he wrestled for 10 years in Europe, but now he's got a company. I don't know his last name. His first name's Andre. Anyways, on the WrestleMania when I was supposed to wrestle Davey Boy, and he wanted to know what happened there. And I said, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Why didn't we ever wrestle? Because the guys, the boys, back then when you're out there, get us about 15 minutes. Well, they right away start bogarting and thinking more time on the tube. More time. If they'd say 15, I'm going to go out there for 25 minutes and try to really bogart the fucking matches, which they did. So it was 25 minutes, 15, all these over 5-minute matches that were 5 minutes longer than what they should have been. And that's why me and Davey didn't even go out there.
And to me, longer isn't better either for show length or match length. Like people say I'm stupid because I like Goldberg or a Brock Lesnar that have faster matches. Hell, I even like the Ultimate Warrior because it's like boom, 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 action. It's not rest holds.
It's almost a freaking relief to have guys just go kick ass. Let's get it done. And And now we get to, yeah, I agree.
These hour-long things. It's like we know it's fake. It's not like it's a real fight going an hour.
Yeah.
So your technical stuff,
Right.
it doesn't actually work in real life. If I
We
want to see
just
technical,
know the finish. Just
yeah,
show us the fucking finish. But you
yeah.
know, the only guy I did that I had a hard time with is the Warrior. Now, as limited as my moves were, here I am calling the kettle black. But he even the Warrior. What I had a hard time with is all he only did 2 or 3 things, and the boys used to get a little pissed off because like we just figured he should do more moves than what he did, and that's, I don't mean to
And he was
sound,
very demanding. I understand it as if I was wrestling him. I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure I'd like the money to wrestle him if you're in the main events, but like
right.
I understand, like even said it. He's like say, okay, you're gonna take this, 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 and this,
That's
and
right.
like you don't have any say in it. So, like, how many times did you wrestle him? Because you did wrestle
But
him quite a bit.
I wrestled him quite a bit, and I would always wrap him up in the 3rd and 2nd rope and then go for a big boot, and then he'd friggin' backdrop me over the top rope because I just try to get a big response, you know, and I wrestled him quite a bit. But one Warrior I do got to say is, I don't know what arena we were in, but he would never dress with the guys. He would always have his own room and locker room. And I remember kind of walking out in the hallway and up on the thing, Warrior, you know, in black magic marker, and he was in there, and I watched the people that worked for the arena came in and asked him if please could you switch rooms. This room is not a room we really use. But I remember the room, it had like bulbs, you know, just like an old time, you know, actors, you know, in the mirror. Very small though, but he was in there. And this lady comes in and says, you can't be in here. Would you please? And she even apologized. And he's, I'm the Warrior. I tell Pep, I am the ultimate warrior. I dress by myself. I get the rope. He starts screaming. I thought, like, where's the camera? He's doing a promo right now. For real. I thought like he was doing a thing for the matches or something. And this poor lady walked away just sad. I'm like, what the fuck was that about? And then they came back and they said, and he had to get his shit humbly, a humble warrior. He had to get his shit and move to the next room. And I'll never forget that. But I thought, well, you know what? Why it's fucked up is because this lady was just trying to do her fucking job, you know. And that one, but, you know, we all fuck up. I'm
Now
not.
they have buses. Now all the stars have their own buses. Like Cody Rhodes has a bus, and Randy Orton, I think, has a bus. CM Punk
It's
has
just
a bus.
beyond me. No shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not kidding. They got buses like rock stars.
I can't. It's just
Yeah.
it's beyond the pale. I don't get it, but I guess money seems to be unlimited to me.
Yeah. Well, even for every time they go to Saudi Arabia, it's 55 million. So like you guys didn't have that in your day.
Holy shit. No, you know, I've always
Yeah.
heard that about, I know I sound like a hillbilly, but I've always heard that about Saudi Arabia. Do they really pay that much? Or is that
Yeah,
bull?
and they're going 3 times next year. So like that's just massive money.
How many people will they get for a crowd?
It doesn't even matter.
Don't
Because
matter,
those
does it?
people are so rich and it's like whitewashing money. That's the whole thing. They're
Yeah.
starting a boxing league with Dana White and a bunch of people from WWE, and they're just going to throw all their money to hire all the top boxers, and it's going to be based in Saudi Arabia. And
Wow.
that's the next thing that they're going to do. They want to put all the American boxing leagues out of business because they're not going to be able to compete because they don't care if they make money or not.
They
They
just
just
they
yeah.
just know they'll end up squashing the American boxing leagues.
Yeah.
I mean, is it me? I'm just old time, Frazier, Aldi, Norton. But it seems to me like American boxing is almost dead.
Yeah, no, honestly, because I was just talking to a boxer the other day about it, because I did something for Tommy Morrison's documentary in
Yeah,
Vegas. And like just on YouTube, you can see bare knuckle fighting, street fighting, MMA, where boxing used to be the most violent thing you could see. Why
yeah,
would anyone pay for a boxing pay-per-view when now like it's on YouTube free seconds later? Like,
yeah, right. I can't even. I don't even. How can you even figure the actual process of the money exchange? Like who makes what on what and why? You know what I mean? How does it? How does the puzzle all come together? I mean, how do you figure who gets paid what? It used to be you get 100 million on a pay-per-view and you get 10 million and this guy gets 2 million and that's that.
there's more money than ever right now, and there's more people sitting at home getting paid than ever right now because AEW is owned by a billionaire. TKO has all this funding, and they don't want each other's stars to get them. So there's tons of people that they just don't want to go to the other company, sitting at home
That's
collecting
half of
massive
it, ain't it?
paychecks.
That's
It's
half of it.
sad because you guys are what built this up, and
Yeah,
like, well, these punk kids that were paid to train and
yeah,
are spoiled brats that only have to wrestle 1 day a week at most,
yeah. And
collect all
that,
this money, and you have to, as you said, you didn't make anywhere near that.
yeah, no, and it was so ridiculous that the really how shitty our pay was. But that's why, like in late '92, Hannibal, you had a ton of guys quitting. Just how do you quit a good job? Nobody does. It must have been a pretty shitty job, and it actually was. Like my buddy Wayne, he quit just out of nowhere. Mike Enos, just quit, and the list goes on. I just quit. I'm like, how is this worth this? I can go home and sell cars for 100 to 150 grand a year, and that's real money. That just ain't. And I know it ain't a lot, but it was to me. And I didn't have to be
Yeah,
gone from my kids and wife for 200 or 250 or whatever, 300, whatever. But yeah, it was just not good money in them years. You had to, and the only thing that kept you on was the pay-per-views. Like even Davey Boy, that WrestleMania, I didn't wrestle that night, so I was going to be curious what my check was going to be, and I think it was 15 grand, and I was the happiest guy in the world. Like 15 grand, honey, yeah, the check's here, 15,000.
yeah,
you know.
and that's in '92, so that's a lot
Yeah,
worth a
I
lot
mean,
more today.
it's chump change. I get
Yeah.
it. But it wasn't back then, and it wasn't for me, and it was a lot for me. It paid a lot of bills, and that's all I really cared about.
Phil wants to know if you remember any stories about Annie in Boston, who supposedly someone else is saying Greg Valentine had relations with her, supposedly.
Annie girl, are you out there watching this? Annie. Oh, Kurt Hennig, Annie. Oh my God. Where do I go? I'm not going there. I'm not going there because I will put my foot in my mouth. But Annie is one of the nicest Boston girls. She had long black flowing hair. Uh, a big girl, not a super big girl, not a big gal, but just a sweetheart from beautiful person, just beyond belief. And Kurt Hennig had a ball with her, just having fun. Just she was a fun girl to drink with, and you just the conversation couldn't. It wasn't possible for the conversation to be uh, rude or crude or anything. The anything was the limit with Annie, and she was great that way.
Someone was asking what was in Kurt Hennig's rainbow stew when he would give you a handful of pills and say rainbow stew.
I will tell you, a 10 milligram Valium, no, it was a 1 milligram Valium, a 1 milligram Xanax, and it was my rainbow stew too. So I'm not pointing fingers at Kurt.
No, he would give this to people too, though, because I've heard Marty Jannetty say it. He'd be like rainbow stew.
Rainbow stew. Like, and you would know where rainbow stew came from.
Yeah.
That came from a Merle Haggard song. We'll all be drinking that free bubble up and eating that rainbow stew. It was a country song in the 80s that was big. And Kurt, of course, was all about country western.
Of course, he was actually good as the West Texas Rednecks. That was one of WCW's mistake. Did he ever complain about that to you? I mean, they were over. They were over like crazy.
He was good too. I was kind of like a mark for him. I'm like, Kurt, you're actually pretty good. You smart ass kid that I've known my whole life. And I thought he was pretty good. I have no idea why they didn't push it, except that Kurt, I don't know. As far Kurt could just, he was so mischievous, and it was a gamble. But was he a great guy? Yeah, he was the greatest guy. But it was still a risk. And anybody don't like taking any risk, it seems. I don't know if that made any sense. But
I heard they expected people to like those no-limit soldiers, but when everyone that they were feuding with, which I don't know if you remember, these rappers that they brought in, and like everyone went with the Rednecks instead.
No, I don't remember this.
They had this Master P and the No Limit Soldiers, which were a bunch of like bodybuilders that weren't trained, making $400,000 a year, and they were the whole point of the West Texas Rednecks was to feud with these No Limit Soldiers, but everyone ended up loving the West Texas Rednecks, who were supposed to be the bad guys.
Hell yes. Hell yes. And speaking of when you said
you would have been great at them, by the way. We should have used you in that group.
I love it. Thank you. I was talking to somebody too about this tug of war we had, and it was in '92, and it was a tug of war versus the wrestlers, and we're all heels, versus the
WBF bodybuilders.
Yeah. And the WBF guys. And where was I going with this? And
they were all under big contracts, I heard, and you guys were making all the money.
Right. They were getting $250 a year, and that was huge freaking money. And if I remember, one of the, how you grow up here, you were looking at the bodybuilding magazines. Remember a guy named Danny Padilla?
Yeah.
You remember him? Anyway, he was like a little Italian bodybuilder. And I remember he was in the front row at the tug of war. But what had happened was Kurt was our coach. And what had happened was they said, we all showed up going, is this a work? Is this a shoot or a work? We didn't know. And I think it's what I heard is a week or two later, the bodybuilding company was done. Is that true? I think
something like that. Yeah, it didn't last very long.
Anyways, but we didn't even know if it was a work or a shoot or what. We didn't have no idea. And then Kurt, they wanted to talk to Kurt to tell him what we're going to do. And Kurt came up to all of us, go, come on, get in here, guys. And he goes, just shoot, pull these guys. You think you could beat them? I says, hell yes, we can beat them. We ain't going to lose to these little punks. We kind of had an edge to us because we didn't want to, even if we were told it was work, we were going to act like we didn't know anyways. But we didn't want to go out losing to the bodybuilders, you know, and that was a chippy thing to us, and we did. We beat them, so it was a shoot.
And you guys were all on the road 5 days a week, and they're just bodybuilding for a living.
Yeah. Yeah, but then one thing I noticed, like the first bodybuilder was like 5'3", the second bodybuilder was like 5'4", and nothing against short guys. It's just, it ain't, if you would have weighed us, we would have been like 3,000 pounds. If you would have weighed them, they would have been like 2,000 pounds, you know? So we had the advantage on weight, I gotta say. But they were all muscle, and we're all a bunch of roadies, you know.
Was Lex Luger involved in that at all, or was he injured at that point?
No, Lex wasn't on that. I know that Skinner, Flair was in the front row. I was the anchor, which I felt quite privileged. Anyways, and I got to say, looking at it, when I looked at it, it looked like I was in the worst shape of my life. But anyways, and then there was Mountie.
Because they were testing you guys for stuff. Meanwhile, the bodybuilders can take anything they want, right?
Exactly.
That made no sense at all.
You didn't have to be a brain surgeon to see that. These guys got ripped. They got veins sticking out. We're all a bunch of, you know, flab boys pulling on this rope. It was like night and day, but we were still proud we won. And Kurt, as I remember, he wouldn't even take his shirt off.
Yeah, it was really unfair to you guys back then.
It was fucked up beyond the pale. It really was.
Yeah. You guys were literally busting your asses to make the money, and these guys can take the steroids. They don't have to do anything. They get the guaranteed contracts, and they're failing. They're actually costing all the money from the company where they're having to release wrestlers because they can't afford it.
Exactly. And then I had you get these stories, and I probably talked to you about the Nails beating up Vince, and I'm like, well, hold it. If you ask Nails, there's only one guy that knows the true story of that, and that's me, because I rode with Kevin, and we planned it out together. But I'm not saying I was just driving. I might have told you this, Hannibal.
Well, you can give us it again. I'm sure the fans want to hear it.
Okay, I was driving a 92 rental Lincoln, which all you ever rented back then was Lincoln Town Cars, for $29.95. Me and Kevin are in the front seat alone, and they're piss testing really still. It's gotten worse. And you got to remember one thing about Kevin Kelly is Kevin, I heard that he was pissed off that he only got $8,000 for working against Boss Man. Was it SummerSlam or something? And he was pissed off about the $8,000 payoff because somebody else, or who, Undertaker, I think, got $50,000. Another guy got, anyways, but that ain't why Kevin did this. Kevin did it because he's been smoking pot since he's been 9 years old, every day, all day. If you know Kevin, that's how it is. That's what he wants to do. I get it. I dig. I'm on your side, Kev. But so I'm driving in the rental Lincoln, and all of a sudden Kevin out of nowhere just goes, yeah, I'm going to beat up Vince. What? You're going to beat, really? I said, when we get to the arena? Yeah. That's the way Kevin talks. Yeah. Anyways, I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Anything? He goes, watch the door. Okay. And he says, I'm going to scream. He put his hand on my dick. And I went, oh, okay, that's a good cover up. And me, I'm not going to lose my job, And I'm like, well, he goes, and he called me, because I was always eating a lot of fast food. He always called me Bundy. He said, hey, Bundy, I don't expect you to lose your job, So I said, okay, thanks, Kev. So we're in Green Bay, Brown County Arena. You're in these shitty locker rooms. They're like these long, heavy painted blue benches that weigh they're of wood, and probably weighed, a couple 100 pounds. And anyways, you got about 7 guys that want to see Vince. And we're in line. I'm sitting next to Kevin. I know he's ahead of me. And so the guys start coming back out. And I didn't know this, that Vince was in the next room by himself. You figure a guy like Vince McMahon would have a guy in back of him watching him, which he probably has every day since then. But he was by himself. Anyways, they go, okay, Kevin, you're up. So Kevin walks in the door, one of those big, freaking huge swing doors. He goes in there, and all of a sudden, I didn't hear nothing, and all of a sudden I hear "You fucking homo, you piece of shit, you're fucking, did you give other guys this much pay and me none, you fucking piece of shit." And I know what Kevin did because he told me later, but he had grabbed Vince by the neck, and he was literally picking him up in the air, and Kevin's cock strong. He's just a strong kid. And I went by the door, and I was standing in front of the door. Now I got people wanting to, look out, Nord, get out of the way. And I'm like, going, what? You ever, do the like, you mean this side or this? I don't know what you guys are doing. So finally, I couldn't hold off the troops long enough. So I busted in the door. Now I see Slaughter on trying to get in between Kevin and Vince, and I grab Sarge from behind. I act like I'm trying to peel him off, but I'm just barely got my hands on him. I go, come on, break it up. What the fuck's going on here? And I just worked the whole deal. But long story short, after it had happened, the Brown County Arena Sheriff's Department came in. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, they said, we're standing, I'm standing there, and I'm, it's the heat's way down. And I think it was Jack Lanza, that came up to the Sheriff's Department and said, hey, Mr. McMahon wants Kevin Kelly or Mr. Wackholz evicted from the arena. And these fucking sheriffs look at Lanza and said, you tell Mr. McMahon he don't own Brown County Arena. We do. Okay? We'll do that when we're ready. We're not ready to do anything. So that really snagged him. But so Kevin just disappeared. I don't know where he went. I think outside or to the edge of the door or something. And then I'll never forget, Vince came up to me and he said, John, is there something I missed? And he said, John, I seen blue, and then I seen red, and then I seen purple. And Vince goes on like this color chart as Kevin hit, because he said he started passing out. And I'm like, and I don't know why he told me. I think he was just checking me out. But I just kayfabed. I didn't lose my job or nothing like this. But Vince's lawyers called me. It was either the next day or the next day I was home. They called me at home and said, yeah, could you, what could you? And they were all freaked out about, oh, that's right, Kevin had yelled too. He put his hand on my dick. He put his hand on my dick. So that was Kevin's, cover up to make sure, whether, it would protect him or get him a lawsuit or whatever. It never happened or nothing, but that was his cover. That was his plan. And that's okay. I've talked about it since with Kevin. But the bottom line is I said, geez, all I kept saying to his lawyers was, I just feel so bad for Vince. I didn't know what else to say. I didn't want to lose my job, And Kevin damn sure wouldn't expect me to lose my job. That was our deal, was you don't have to lose your job over what I'm going to do. But most people think it's because of this $8,000 payoff he got. It wasn't. It was because Kevin Kelly wasn't ever going to quit smoking pot, so he might as well quit his job now. That's was Kevin's thinking. So.
And the funny thing is, there's a lot of rumors now because of some of these text messages that came out about Vince, and rumors that him and Pat may have had something on the side, that like it's actually more believable now, the accusation,
nice
even though it was made up.
That's a nice thought.
Whatever. There was someone on here asking, I mean, I know you're not Pat's type, but did you ever notice any of that? Because he did retire for a while there due to accusations that
Pat
then they brought
Patterson.
him back. Yeah, then they brought him back when it cooled down.
You mean when? Oh, you mean Kevin?
No, like I mean, like, did you ever notice anything with Pat? Because I know there's always the rumors of Pat and the Brooklyn Brawler and Pat sexually harassing some people. Did you ever notice anything like that?
No, Pat was. Here's the one thing about Pat. Don't bullshit yourself. Pat's way too cool a customer. Guy's been around a long time. Now, with the Brawler and that, I remember. The only thing I can tell you about that is I was kind of just a Midwest kid. I didn't really believe shit like that happened out there in the real world, you know, but it did. And I remember one night, me and Brett were drinking, and the Brawler came by, and Brett just went off on him. Started going, you fucking that. And I says, what Brett had said was he walked in on him and Brawler. And then after he yelled at Steve Lombardi, I said, Brett, are you fucking kidding me? What, did you just make that up? I'm thinking, and he's going, no, I walked in and this is what was going on. I said, no, you can't be telling me that. Yes. I says, holy shit. And that's the one thing I had the hardest time with, was I didn't really believe stuff like that happened out there in the office of the WWF, but it did. You know?
Yeah, I mean, now they've reopened the Ring Boy scandal in Maryland because I guess they lifted the statute of limitations on that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, but that was related to mostly, I think, Mel Phillips, which I think he was gone by the time you were there, right?
No, Mel was there.
Oh.
All I know was they said something about sucking toes or something like that.
Was it known? Was it like known by the wrestlers that like something weird was going on there, and you guys just didn't say anything because you didn't want to?
Yeah, I knew for sure half the time that people were just bullshitting. But the problem that I had was the talk was sometimes so disgusting, the stories, that if my wife knew that I was working for a company that had these kind of stories, she would divorce me. You know, you just can't have this kind of sick, trashy shit. I'm not talking like I'm all this Mr. Good guy. I'm not, but the actual stories got so gross sometimes that they were off the pale. It was bad.
Someone on here wants to know if you have any Tom Zinc stories, another Minnesotan that went too soon, I guess.
He did. God bless his heart, Tommy. Tom Zinc I've known since I was a kid. He grew up right across the street from my grandpa. And Tom Zinc was a guy that he was kind of like the smart ass kid that would trip you in the hallway going down the hall, and then you'd chase him and he'd be gone. He was kind of one of them guys. But what got him in wrestling is he just started lifting and just he just trained so hard, and he made it through a Vern Gagne wrestling camp, which was no joke. So I got to hand it to Tom. And Tom wasn't known as a tough guy, but to make it through what he made it through, he was and you always heard stuff about him and Rick Martel being like this. I didn't really believe
Billy
it.
Jack Haynes claimed that Tom Zinc had something with Patterson too, and that's why Zinc like left WWE so fast. But that's Billy Jack Haynes.
Yes, and I would say that that's not Tom. I heard the same exact thing, and that's not Tom Zink. You know, Tom shit. I've sat at the table with Tom, you know, drinking and doing blow, just me and him, and 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 talking really close and that. No way. Nah, Tom wasn't like that, but I didn't know for sure because, like at first I was in when I first broke into the AWA. You know, Martel would be calling Zinc at 2 a.m, and Zinc would be calling Martel at 2 a.m, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is all this 2 a.m. conversations? You know, who calls guys at 2 a.m? I'm trying to sleep. Quit the phone calls, you know, and all I'm saying on that is I think they were just mainly ribbing each other to make sure they didn't get enough sleep or something. You know, that's the Kurt Hennig way. He'd give you a wake up at 4:30, and
Yeah.
You know, so next thing you know, you're just you know everybody's laughing because you know you were up at 4:30, and then you couldn't get back to sleep, and the whole thing.
There's also rumors about Martel and Piper out there from their days in the Maritimes.
God,
I don't know if you ever heard. Did you ever hear those?
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
So I don't know about Martel.
I don't know.
Maybe that's why he doesn't do shoot interviews anymore, because some of these stories are.
They are, and I can tell you this: Rick Martel is one of the best guys I ever met. Roddy Piper, I don't know. Roddy was just a little different, you know. I didn't trust him for anything, Roddy, you know. But
did you ever do drugs with him?
Roddy?
Yeah,
I did blow with Roddy.
He trusted you, because I heard that he was very few people that he would let in, but
yes, he was. But the grappler Lenny was the booker out there, and so I would go out there in 1988 and 89 and just go for one night. I used to be able to fly in and out because my wife was a flight attendant, so I got free airline tickets, or they were only $40. So I could go out, do a shot on the weekend, make 800 and fly back, or 600, whatever. Wasn't a lot, but it was good to me. Anyways, and Roddy was was in on it with Don Owens. So there was when I first met Roddy, and we'd be at the table at Lenny's house, packing our nose, and Roddy was super cordial to me, but I still didn't know if I could trust him, because he would be at these big arguments with Lenny, because Lenny owned Piper's Pit Stop transmission shop, and they started this together. And Roddy threw in 40 grand so they could open up this transmission shop. Well, Lenny just loved that. And he was one of the few guys that was a self-taught transmission guy. The guy never put together a transmission once in his life till he opened up this shop, and he starts learning it day by day. I don't know how he did it. I still say to him, I go, "You're amazing. I don't know anybody that can do that." But anyways, Roddy would go off on him and say, all of a sudden just turn on him. So because of that, then all of a sudden I didn't trust him, because Lenny I trust 100%.
So what was Piper like after a couple lines, or is that the Piper that we see on TV?
After a few lines, he was real friendly. He wasn't I like that. He was more just like, "Brother, no." He would get serious. He would go, "Brother, no. Are you aware that there's predators out to get our children?" He would get this serious conversation, news stuff that I wasn't really into. But
I could totally see him
right?
saying something like that.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I heard that about Portland that you'd pull in. I mean, I heard Matt Bourne actually say it. He pulled in for his first night, and they like threw him an eight. The booker threw him an 8 ball. He's like, I'm gonna like this territory. Did you ever know him? You must have known Matt Bourne a little.
But yeah, I knew him a little. Yeah, I knew Matt when he was one of the last guys I roomed with WWF. He was doink, and but I met Matt out in Portland too, and he just he was just a weird guy. God bless his soul. I don't mean to talk shit here, but he was just a weird dude. He was, and I couldn't, and it just like I couldn't really trust him, and just I didn't trust him just because Lenny didn't trust him, and I didn't trust Billy Jack because Lenny couldn't trust him, and
well, Billy Jack has proven himself to be a total psychopath, and he's going to be locked away the rest of his life at this point.
He has proven it. He has proven
you know how stupid he is? He's doing this dark side of the ring, and he has to have maybe the worst lawyer in the world to allow him to do the dark side of the ring before his trial. Because he's under the impression that apparently, like, however length the interview that he did, it's like, it's not like they're going to air the entire thing. They're going to cut out the best parts.
Like, and you know where his thinking goes is probably, brother, this is going to help me. I know, because everybody loves Billy Jack. They'll see the, or whatever, the crazy thoughts.
He says he doesn't want to be known as the O.J. Simpson of wrestling.
Well, I don't blame him. But murder is a murder. You know, son of a bitch.
It's funny because he considered me a friend, right? I would put up with his calls and stuff. His lawyer called me not too long ago, and it's like, he wants $2,500 to do a jail interview with him. I'm like, what is it? Am I not supposed to be his friend? And how does he think he's going to make $2,500? He's like, well, that's what Dark Side of the Ring paid him. I'm like, they're a TV show.
Yeah.
This is a YouTube channel. We don't have unlimited funding.
And did you tell him that?
Yeah. I said he's not going to make that. I'm like, flat out, he's not going to make that. I said, all I can do is say that I'll actually air his full interview. And I won't it'll be more fair than whatever they show. But I'm and he's not going to make that. That's ridiculous.
Right. And by the way, if you were a true blue friend, why wouldn't you just say, what can you pay me? I'm not in a spot where I can barter money.
Yeah. He knows I'm not rich or anything. That's right. I mean, that just shows he's crazy that he thinks that. I mean, I'm sure people would like to see it, but that's a lot of YouTube hits.
Yes, it is. Yeah, well, that's right. That's right. But he's just so freaking it's how crazy his went.
That's why I didn't go to Portland, by the way, because I was supposed to actually interview Billy at the same time, but once that fell through, that's when I'm like, I'm just not going to go. Yeah. So it's too bad, but I'll run into you another time.
Yeah, and that's all you can do with a guy like Billy Jack. And I'll tell you what, my buddy, the grappler, what the hell happened with him? Something happened with him where, I know it was Brian Adams. Brian had invited, because I asked Lenny, the grappler, I said, Lenny, what did happen on that? You told me a couple times. I guess I wasn't listening, but what did happen? Where Brian Adams, he had fired Billy Jack or something, Lenny, and he was the booker, So Brian Adams asked Lenny to come over to his house or something, and Brian was standing there, and Lenny came in his house or his kitchen there and opened the door and said, "Hey, how you doing?" There's Billy Jack in the bedroom, laying in the weeds for him. Yeah. And he was going to jump him and kick his ass. Billy's
He did hate Lenny. I do recall that. He really hates Lenny for some reason.
No, how could you hate that fucking guy. But there's the stories, and that's
Yeah.
one I just don't know what the finality was on it. I think it just fizzled down, but I would imagine.
As of the last time we came up in conversation about Lenny, he still hated Lenny, like within the year of his arrest. Because I remember he would often bring up Lenny. He's still stuck in the old day mentality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You know the
I
people
agree.
that are like that.
I could see him not liking him too because Lenny was the booker and he didn't get the push, and he's the famous Billy Jack, and it just and
He messed up his push in every territory he was in, and it was all his fault. That's the fact. They pushed him every single place he went, and then he had some type of tantrum or issue that caused him to leave.
So true, and it's his own fault. Listen, even Vince, when he was at the height of a push, he somehow fucked that up, and I don't remember why. But
they were teaming up with Hulk Hogan. He overdosed on a plane.
Oh,
he overdosed on a plane.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
the GHB shit, right? Is that what you call that stuff?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think Bill Eadie, or it's not Bill Eadie, Barry Darsow was there for it.
Barry Darsow, yeah, because every time I seen Billy Jack when I was with Barry, Billy would go, "This man saved my life. This man saved my life." I said, "Oh, okay, good. Let's go. We got to get on the road, whatever." But he was, yeah, I don't know what Barry did to save his life. How did he save his life? I don't know. But
I don't know, but there's actually two incidents. One, Ken Patera helped him, and one, Barry Darsow was on the plane. So there's a couple of times, but they were giving him the world. If you look back at all the magazines covers he had, if he had managed to keep his head on straight, which sadly, I think he's just mentally unstable.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with you. And especially a guy, I mean, I know he's mentally unstable, but a guy to screw that many, to me, there could have been so many other guys you could put on the front of a magazine that were actually better than Billy. But he did have a good look. He did have but he didn't necessarily have a good interview or nothing like that. So I don't know. I don't know why they kept putting up with him, but they did.
Sullivan was pushing him. He told me too, because I was friends with Sullivan. They're pushing him to the moon in Florida. Then he just gets up and leaves Florida. It screws them all over. So
you know what? I think he's got the disease of getting a few bucks in his pocket, and then all of a sudden, fuck it, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? I know a lot of guys got that disease.
Oh, yeah. And last question here, because I was with Tito Santana's daughter a couple days ago in Las Vegas. I don't know if you know, he has an illegitimate daughter that he refuses to acknowledge, even though his sons have confirmed it.
Tito's?
Yeah. And somebody affiliated with the daughter that knows a lot about Tito Santana told me that there could be more illegitimate kids out there from him that haven't come out yet. And if they ever were to do a dark side of the ring on him, a lot would come out. They also said he was actually a party or two, but very on the low key. Do you know anything about this, or is this person?
Here's what I can tell you about Tito Santana. I thought he always had great advice to give you in the locker room. The fucking guy was a professional worker. He was great at his craft. Tito had a heart of gold. I get it. I think he was a puss hound. I think he just, like so many other guys, he just loved chasing the girls. But he did it very quietly, And
yeah, you could get away with it before the internet because the daughter didn't even come out until she was like in her 30s. So because there was no internet. Yeah.
Boy, that was a long time ago, huh? Damn.
I mean, like, yeah, she's 42 or 43 now, but looks exactly like him.
Well, there you go.
And she's a world champion in jiu-jitsu. Like, she's actually, and it's funny because her son is like 19. Her son looks exactly like Tito. I met her son the other day for the first time. It's funny.
That is funny.
He should almost accept
I think
him.
it's cool.
The son actually loves wrestling, so it's almost too bad that he doesn't kind of embrace that the illegitimate ones are more like him than the legitimate ones with his wife.
Yeah, that is just funny. I think it's funny. I don't think it's even a bad thing. Shit. It is what it is. And it's as long as the kid is happy, healthy, doing good, who cares about what his dad did, you know?
Exactly.
But Tito's a great guy. Tito. Tito was super nice guy, but could you trust him all the way? I don't know.
I can tell you he's a nice guy, but he's also very money oriented, like a lot of wrestlers are.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. And that's what guys fall into when it's always about more money, the next money, the next dirt, the next, smack to say, so they get higher up the ladder and talk bad about this guy so they get higher up the ladder. If you're going to talk bad about somebody, do it for free.
That's his daughter, by the way. That's his daughter, by the way.
Oh, is that
the video I did with her? You could tell the resemblance. But she's actually very good looking.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah. You need to get in touch with her because they give stem cell injections. She works at a stem cell place. They can give you a stem cell injection to help regenerate your injuries. Yeah.
Really?
I'm not kidding about that.
Right there. She's at work, right?
Yeah, they gave me, the whole reason I went to Las Vegas is because they gave me stem cell injections for some of my injuries last week.
Did they? So, do you think that works?
Yes.
Does it?
Yeah, to everybody different level, but you'll be feeling better. But you know what? I will mention you to her that you're going to be in Las Vegas.
What's it cost?
Because you are a famous wrestler, they may, as long as you take a few pictures or something, give you I'll mention to her and I'll get back to your
$4,000 instead of $6,000 or something like that.
No, I think you could probably get better than that. But
well, anyways, that's nice. Yeah, tell her to say hi to me.
I will.
I love Tito. Tito's a great guy. Does he got them? I agree with. There's great guys in this business that are great guys that would roll on you if they had to. So are they great guys? I don't know.
Yeah. So next week you're going to be at the Westgate Hotel in Las Vegas. What are the days you're actually going to be there if any of the fans want to see you?
Friday and Saturday. Yep. And by the way, Hannibal, if I could I want to put a shout out to somebody. I think my nephew Justin might have got to you and said something that I said about Wayne Bloom and my buddy's son Cal Von Wagner, but I want to give a shout out to them guys in that I hope that the AEW is smart enough to pick up a guy like Cal Bloom. The guy's big, he's good looking, he can work, and I think he's a diamond in the rough, or I think he's just playing a really good talent. The guy's been around years for a long time. All of a sudden he's been around 6-7 years, and he's a great find if somebody hires him. I'm not just saying that to get his job, but I also wanted to say I was sorry in that the way I told the Wayne and Cal story last time I was with you, because Wayne was really hurt by that, and it hurts me that I hurt him. So I just want to say I'm sorry to them guys that love him.
Well, I think that they've been using Von Wagner in the Ring of Honor version of AEW recently. So
really,
he's been the last couple weeks. They've been using him in AEW. I don't know if he's under contract or just getting tryouts. But
wow, see, I did not even know that. So good. Good, good.
Yeah.
But I love, me and Wayne Bloom have been friends since we've been 17, 18, and it just show you I said something, and it was me just being a freaking knucklehead. That's all. And sometimes if guys say stuff about me, and I write it off to them that they're being knuckleheads, or about my son, or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is I said something derogatory, and he just took it hard. And Wayne, you fucking know I didn't mean it. Nothing bad. It just came out of my mouth. And last time I was on with you, Hannibal, I was still a little droopy from my Ambien I took the night before.
There you go. And I actually just looked it up. Von Wagner debuts in ROH. This just happened. So there you go. We're giving him a plug. That's a picture from this week. He was right. He was in. Hopefully, he gets some of that AEW money, because I hear the minimum is $150 a year.
Really?
For Hardly Wrestling. So I hope
he gets. Oh, Cal, good boy, Cal. I hope you get it. And I want to know. Now, I guess when I'm in Vegas, I'm going to do a podcast for Jake and Matt. Marcus? Jake Roberts and Marcus. Now, Jake's still under contract with them, ain't he?
Yes. They just don't use him. Maybe you could ask him, like, what's going on there, and text me about it. But,
is there anything I should know on your job? I'm in question on your job techniques here. Now, do you actually go to work, or do you just get the button pushed and the money goes in your account? That's Jake. Jake is, people that like Jake are really hardcore fans of Jake Roberts, because, brother, he is so serious, and he's got such a mysterious past, man. Anyways, that's how Jake talks, is how I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up right now if he is still with AEW, because it's very interesting. But I believe he is. I just don't think they've used him for forever. He's one of the ones sitting at home.
Yeah.
Because they probably don't want him to go under a WWE Legends contract.
God, that's the truth right there. I'll tell you, I talked to the grappler probably almost every day, and he just told me Jake just called him like 3 to 4 days ago. Because one time, Jake just out of nowhere called the grappler and said, "Hey, man, you want to go fishing?" And they're both Texas guys, so they talked the same talk. And Jake took him fishing, paid the whole bill, put out the red carpet. He couldn't have been any nicer. And I got a lot of good memories with Jake. I love Jake Roberts. I really do. I like to poke fun at him and sometimes call him on his bullshit, but I really like Jake. We partied a lot in 1985. So, and his wife, Cheryl, me and my wife had dinner with them guys half dozen times in 1985. So we got really close, and I really like Jake because I just find him entertaining. That's all.
Well, I've actually looked it up through AI, which gives you all the correct answers most of the time. Yeah. So here we go. Jake the Snake is still with All Elite Wrestling as of April 5th, 2025. He has been signed since 2020. It's speculated he makes in the range of $250,000 to $500,000 a year. So there you go. Congratulations, Jake. Let's get my good friend here, John Nord, one of the best guests on this channel. No one's going to argue with that. Let's get him in there in some role.
Yeah, thanks, Hannibal. Thanks. Yeah, Jake, just send me some. If the word gets out to you, Jake, I can give you my address. I'm caught short a little bit on the money, so bring it my way.
And I wonder if that, they seem very happy together, but I wonder if Cheryl would have got back with him if he was still having to do the indies.
Well, Jake has a way, like every other guy, Jake has a way of either driving you fucking crazy because of his fucking ego, or you love the guy and all you do is laugh with him.
Very good. Well, it's been great having you on.
Hannibal, thanks. I
thanks
appreciate you. I do, and I mean that. You're a good dude. Me and my nephew Justin here, he's a fan of yours, and I am too.
Well, I'll let you close this off with whatever you want to tell the fans, and I hope they come to see you at the Westgate next week at WrestleCon. And someone said you're also coming to New Jersey soon. So
yeah, I am.
come out and meet
Yeah,
'em.
thanks. And I am. I'm at both them. And you guys, anybody listening to this, stop on by my table. Even if you don't spend $1, you can still stop at my table. I don't care. I love to talk. And wrestling fans really are the greatest fans in the world. And I don't know what show it was I did. I don't know what, a couple of years ago. And I remember what I said. And I think the fans thought it was kind of funny. But I said, you know what? Every morning of my life, you know what I do? I wake up and I say, I'm gonna fuck somebody up real bad today. No, that was a joke. I got problems.